everybody. Welcome back to the series in 2023. And we are so happy to be here. Thanks to the Department of Education, Kentucky Department of Education. We are just elated to go down this road with you, this journey of awesomeness. So we are just so thankful. Every teacher out there has tools at their disposal in their classroom, in their district, in their community to help reach young people. And not just to reach young people, but to provide young people with the tools so those young people can take the tools and make them their own and personalize this thing called learning and education. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the kids and the journey that they travel and the path that they travel with their families, so they can figure it out. And we just provide the tools, provide the deep thought and deep learning experiences for the kiddos to figure it out, and then collaboration with their families at home, and make this thing happen. There's a lot of moving parts, and we are just trying to add into some of this by providing the tools. So thank you so much to the Kentucky Department of Education for providing us this opportunity. And so today's session, we are going to actually talk about SEL, social emotional learning, and your school culture, how to cultivate that SEL in your school culture. So it sounds like a lot, but we try to break it down into something that's very doable, some common sense stuff, some techniques and tools to use, and parents can use it, kids can use it, teachers can use it. Any person that wants to learn and become a better person themselves can use these SEL tools. So it's really not a bunch of magic. It's all about being a good person. And so we'll go through this process today just to kind of show you how to do it and give you some tools and tips and tricks to kind of go through this whole process. So let's get started. So excited to kick off 2023 this year. So I'm going to add in the presentation deck and we are ready to go. So we're going to really talk about your school culture. So how do we get the school culture thing moving and growing and becoming a better person? And first, we have to really start thinking about what is SEL, social emotional learning, and all that good stuff. But I'm going to preface it with this. It usually starts off with one word. There's one word that kind of describes all SEL, social emotional learning, what it is, how it functions. And it's probably so simple that you'll say, no way, that's not even possible. No way. So let's take a look at it here. So first, I want to start off, just want to make sure that everybody knows who I am. I'm Dr. Randall Sampson. So my big thing is about equity and access. And we want to lead kids through this K-12 journey. And we don't want to forge a path for them. We want to help them forge their own path. And we want to provide them with the tools as they go through their path to make it happen. So enough about me. There's all the information that you guys need to know about me, K-12, all the way through various levels of public school education, from elementary all the way through high school levels, and working with principals, superintendents, from the superintendent's door to the student's desk. That's what it's all about. So here's the one word. Here's the one word. It's a journey, but the journey all begins with this thing called effort. So effort is really what it takes. And as you guys can see, I have my shirt on here. It says, be your own champion. You can see it, be your own champion. So that's part of my champion culture. So how do you become your own champion? It takes effort. That's all it takes, effort. So you don't have to be the brightest individual. You don't have to go to the best college university. You don't have to go to college university at all and be this professor and all this other stuff. The one thing that we all have in common is effort. How much effort do we put into things that we care about? So we really have to think about this thing called effort. So if we really want to know more about ourselves and know more about other people, it's going to take effort. I know sometimes in life, we just kind of go through the paces and kind of understand how that is. So we have to really be cognizant of the level of effort that we put into things and how far we want to push this. And with that, as we all think, well, if I just put in a bunch of effort, things will get better. If I just put in a bunch of effort, people will understand me better. If I just put in a bunch of effort, everybody in the world will cooperate with the way I see things. But what we also have to understand is once we put in effort, there's also a thing called process. So there has to be a process that we put that effort towards, or else you're just doing a whole bunch of stuff and it doesn't align with anything. So you also have to think about your process. So what process are we using to excite kids, to ignite kids, to get them to really think about who they are in this learning process, right? So you have to have this level of effort. And the frustration usually comes because we see this big, elongated process that's happening. And the frustration happens when people are like, oh man, I'm going to give up. This thing is not going anywhere. It's going downhill fast. It's a dumpster fire. We're not going to, succeed. But that's part of the process. There are ups and downs in the process. And we also have this thing called growth mindset. So in the process, you have to have this growth mindset that, yeah, you're going to go in life and things aren't going to go your way and there's going to be bumps in the road. We've all been through that. And, when you're in the moment, nobody wants to hear that. But when you are on the outside telling other people, hey, there's a bump in the road, it's okay, don't worry. They don't want to hear, don't worry, it's okay. What folks normally want to hear is, I know there's a bump in the road. I'm hitting it right now. I'm deep into this ditch. What is my response to get out? So in growth mindset, we often say it's okay to fall into a ditch or stumble. You're not going to be successful at everything that you try. But when you do fail, you have to have multiple plans as an exit strategy to get out of that failure. You can't stay inside of that failure. And I think that's where people cut growth mindset a little short. They just think that failure is okay. Failure is a thing. Failure is cool. That's part of the experience. You have to fail. Yes, that's part of it. But then after you fail, what is the response? What is the intervention? What is the acceleration? How do we get out of this state of failure? And then we start looking at our SEL tools to help us with that. So let's go on to the next one. So let's redefine or define what SEL is, what social emotional learning is. So let's kind of define it. And there are the typical 5 terms that are out there that kind of define what SEL is, social emotional learning. So for the layman out there that doesn't know what that is, so we want to talk about student or self-awareness. So the student that we're working with, or students in our building, or adults, or community. We want to build self-awareness is the key. So that's one key element of social emotional learning, having this level of awareness of who you are, where you fit in, where you go. And the thing about self-awareness is you don't even really have to fit into anything. It's about this thing called belonging. So how do you belong in this group, and what groups do you belong in? You could belong in multiple groups. So this is all about self-awareness, discovering who you are. And then the second part is self-management. So self-management is a critical one because that creates a lot of frustration. And the frustration usually resides within self, but then you project it onto other people. It's other people's fault, right? Because you don't have the self-management. And with self-management comes a level of self-discipline. So having that discipline to set goals, to do things, and to execute those goals, and to achieve those goals and accomplish them, and then set new goals once you achieve your goals. So as the proverbial saying goes, don't be happy with just being the dog chasing the car and then finally catching the car. Then you say, okay, so what now what? You create more goals on top of those goals. And that's the self-management part that many young people struggle with, including a lot of us adults. And then the social awareness part is also critical. So being socially aware about your surroundings, and like the kids would say, be able to read the room. So the ability to read the room and see what conditions other people are in that room, in that situation, I think is critical. Because sometimes we only have our own agendas. We often say, okay, I want to solve a problem coming to this meeting with my agenda versus what everybody else is going through in the moment. Yes, we agreed to an agenda yesterday, but in the moment, in the 24 hours, something occurred maybe. So you have to be able to read the room and understand the folks that you're working with. And then you have this relationship skills. And I think that's big in education. So in education, we often say relationships, relationships, relationships. It's the same thing as when real estate agents talk about location, location, location. It's that critical. So, how do we build these relationship skills, not just with our students, but allowing space where the students are building relationship skills with each other as peers? So, I think that's the most critical one. So, how does the youth culture build these relationships with each other to encourage each other instead of pulling each other down? So those are the relationship skills that kids have to develop over time, and even adults. As we work in schools with PLCs, professional learning communities. So we have these relationships that we have to establish, but we don't have PLCs in schools. We don't have kid versions of PLCs in schools. So we have to establish those within the classroom setting, and also have some systemic things that help establish that. And we'll go through that here in a little bit. And then the last part is obviously decision making. So, how do we make decisions that are short term and long term? What are the decisions that we're looking for, and how do we exercise those decisions constantly and really think deeply about those decisions? So those are the 5 key areas of social emotional learning that we're going to really dig into today and really talk about, and then also have some tools. So I won't say, okay, this one tool is for social awareness. You'll see kind of how it all flows together, and we'll kind of put it all together, because remember, these are just 5 key elements, and you as an individual, you can choose which one or which combination of elements you really want to focus on or you really want to work on. And it becomes so personalized that no 2 human beings are working on the same things. And if they are, the scope and sequence of those same things are so vastly different because we have different lives. But this is really a cool way to kind of look at it or think about it. So what really happens in K-12 schools when we talk about social emotional learning? Because we also have to think about, we have academic content standards, we have state testing, we have ACT tests, we have SAT tests, we have all of these different assessments occurring. And obviously the focus is on learning, and the assessments are good because they provide a pathway as to whether the learning is occurring or not, which is critical. And then we also have various things like the MTSS process that we have at the state level, which is really, really awesome at Kentucky Department of Education. So we have multiple things happening at the same time in addition to SEL. So we have to kind of figure out where does all fit into. And with SEL, what everybody wants is they have this micro wave culture that we all want to develop. So the way I think about it is, people often think it's just, you just throw some pizza in the microwave, push 30 seconds, it's done, it's ready to go. So with SEL and developing your school's culture and your classroom culture and your building culture, you just kind of throw it into the microwave, push the magic button, and 30 seconds is done. Let's move on. Let's go back to the academic stuff. And when the culture gets a little cool down again, we'll put it back in the microwave. So it's this whole microwave culture that we have to get over, because you really have to work at this stuff. And with that, I really break it down into the 3 components for culture. So we want to talk about behavior, values, and beliefs. So what is the specific behavior in our building, in our classroom, in our school, or in our community that is acceptable behavior? And when we say acceptable behavior, we're talking about human beings to human beings. What kind of behavior do we accept? And we have to articulate that in a timely fashion, instead of making assumptions that people who either move into our building, move into our classroom, or move into our district have clarity about what the behaviors are that we are all have agreed to long term to be in our community. And then the other part is the values. So what do we really value as a learning community? So as the adults, when we talk about the kiddos that attend our schools, what are the value systems? What's the value proposition? What do we really value? And we have to be able to articulate that and make it very visible. These are the things we value. We value an ACT score. I don't know if that's a thing or not. We value attendance, or we value parental participation, or we value kids exploring the curriculum through external measures. We value kids going out to the community and being highly engaged in the community. So we have to really think about what are the key values for our building, our classroom, or our district that's very, very public, and have included people in the process to figure out what these value systems are. Because as we all come in from the teacher side or the adult side, our value structure might be totally different from the value structure of the people that we serve. So think about that. Our value structure as the adults or the instructors in the classroom might be totally different than the value structure of the people that we're supposed to serve. And that includes the community, that includes the parents, that includes the kids. So we have to figure out, we're not saying you have to minimize your own values to adhere to the values of someone else. But what we are saying is there has to be a level of compromise to figure out what are the 90 to 95% of core values that we all have in common. And let's come from a position of strength rather than a position of a deficit. So that's kind of where we have to think outside the box, be creative, and really hone in on that value system. And then the third one is belief. So we have to create a belief system about our kids. I mean, that's just the honest to goodness truth. We have to create a belief system about our kids. So what do we really believe about our kids? And internally, it's something that we can't fix in each adult in a district or in a school. But the adults have to start understanding who they are and what they believe about the kids and the community that they serve. And we have to make that public. And it's almost a level of vulnerability that you have to go through, a step of vulnerability that you have to go through as a community, and be as clear as you can about your belief system in education, and make it as public as possible once we coalesce around some core belief systems that we want to exude out there in the community. So those are the three pieces that I usually use for defining what a culture is in a building or in the district or even in the community. It's about your behavior. It's about the values and the belief, right? And so you can take those three and interpret it any way you want that's localized for you. So here's an example. We have a school where they said, okay, we're going to put it in plain terms. After we go through the process of behavior, values, and beliefs, we're going to put it in plain terms. And those plain terms are this: we want kids to show up, we want kids to be kind, and we want kids to do your work. Those are the three things that the teachers would say. And I said, wow, that's profound. Okay, that makes sense. And then so we asked the kids, and the kids all said, yep, this works. But then I also took it to the next level and said, hey, can we apply the same principles to the teachers in the building, to the folks at central office, to folks in the district, where we ask adults to show up for their job? We ask adults to be kind to each other and kind to the kids. And then we ask the adults, please be sure that you are doing your job as far as the instruction is concerned, as far as the teaching is concerned, as far as the caring is concerned as well. And then we had to define, well, what's do your job mean? What's do your work mean? And we had to define, what does being kind look like? What does that experience mean for a kid, or what does that experience mean for a parent? And showing up, what does that mean? How often do you show up? When do you show up? What measures do you use to show up, or what tools do you use? And that was great. So the teachers all went through that. Then I said, well, hey, let's take it to the next level. How about if we use the same principles for our community? Parents, guardians, any adult that's in the lives of kids, the expectation that the school has or the district has. So parents have to show up when required, or show up when it's a non-athletic event, show up for the academic press that the that the school might have. And when I say academic press, that means all of the academic things that are constantly coming out and being aware about what's happening. So showing up for that, being kind, parents being kind uh, to each other inside of their household, but also being kind to their kids and being kind to the teachers. It's just being a good community member. So how are you kind as a community member in our district or in our town or in our school? And then the other part is to do your work. So, and it was funny because when we're talking to the teachers, like, well, parents are working at whether it's a professional office or construction or whatever trade that they have or job that they have, do your work. So we can't dictate to parents how they should do their work. But then I said, well, it's in the confounds of school. How does that work out for parents? And the teachers would say, oh, you know being available to help your kid with their homework, uh, having non-academic time with your kid, and even just reading for pleasure, uh, getting reading materials into the house, whether it's magazines, picture books, graphic novels, anything that's a reading material that can be in the house, that could be brought into the house by the parent. That's doing your work as the parent of a learner. So I really love the way that they framed that and scoped it. So those are the kind of steps that you have to go through when we start talking about culture and building the culture, because everybody thinks it's so glamorous, it's so glitzy, but it takes a lot of work. And so here are just like this is just the framework of how we can actually start going through that process. So let's take a look at some of the research that's out there with the social emotional learning, and this is through the Castle model that's out there. And so when we look at the orange components, which is the self-awareness, self-management, and then being a responsible decision maker, we'll go from clockwise there in the light orange. And then in the green, it's about the relationship skills and the social awareness. And obviously in the middle, in the white circle in the middle, is always the student. We have to have the student in the middle of everything that we do. And then with that said, the classrooms wrap around those 5 components. And then after the classrooms, it's the school that wraps around, and then home and communities kind of wrap around. So those are the things that we have to start thinking about and how to do it. And here's a quick little picture of a school that talks about showing up, being kind, and doing your work. And they celebrate the kids tremendously and often, which is the way it should be. And you have that culture where the kids are supporting each other. The students are leading their own learning, so to speak. And you got to think, hey, these kids are 8, 9, 10 years old, and they are already leaders of their own learning, which is a phenomenal way to start your academic career. So let's think about building your culture. What does that actually look like with tools, right? So there are various digital tools out there. And so I'm just going to give you 3 quick digital tools that you can really think about, that you can really explore in this process. So as you build your culture, we often want to make sure that people understand that there are tools out there, but the essence of this whole thing is you win with people. It's the people in your building, it's the people in your classroom, it's the people in your community that you win with. The tools are there as a augmentation. The tools are there as a guide, and they are just tools. So don't take the digital tools as the end all be all of everything. They're just tools along the way, but it's still about the human interaction, the human being, that human relationship. So with that said, I have these 3 tools that we're going to kind of think about. And so Microsoft OneNote is a tool. Wakelet is a tool, and Flipgrid, formerly Flipgrid, now Flip, is also a tool that can be used. So with that said, any tool that you use, including these 3, you usually run those tools through the 5 categories. That's how we do it. So we'll say, okay, if we're going to use Wakelet or Flip or OneNote, is there a level of self-awareness that's built into those digital tools? What self-awareness do those digital tools provide? So does it accurately assess one's strengths and limitations with a sense of integrity? So what does that mean? So does that tool provide me, the learner, with a sense of self-awareness? So for instance, with Flip, because it's a video tool, the kids can record videos about a topic that they are interested in or have learned about or want to explore. So it creates that self-awareness. And then there's self-management, which include the ability to set and work towards personal academic goals. So when you look at OneNote, there are various components inside of Microsoft OneNote where you can create your own self-management and self-pace of your learning experience. Specifically for OneNote does a really great job with their immersive reader and for students with learning disabilities. So there are various tools in there that can help students out who have either 504, IEP, or somebody that just needs to learn differently or loves to learn differently or needs to learn differently. Those tools are all in there that are augmented and ready for those learners as well. So you go through this list to make sure that those tools all have those components. Social awareness, considering diverse perspectives. So that's what Wakelet does. So if you think about a Wakelet, considering diverse perspective, you're curating, meaning you're collecting various resources on one topic. So if you have one topic, let's say Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is one topic, you can pull in various news articles, you can pull in various video clips, you can pull in various quotes, you can pull in various poems, you can pull in various artifacts about Martin Luther King Jr. Day and put it all into one place to make a collaborative, cohesive story about that one topic. So it creates social awareness about who I am and what else is going on around me through other people's lenses. So I think that's really critical. Then you have the relationship skills. So do these tools help to build those relationship skills? So obviously, when you think about a Flip a video, if there's a whole bunch of different videos in there from different people in your classroom, you can comment on it. You can give it a like. You can give it a thumbs up. You can, give different things. Same thing with Wakelet and same thing with OneNote. You can provide a response to somebody else, a digital response in addition to the human response. So now you have this relationship skill that's being scaffolded at a different level and a different rate beyond just the human interaction. So you have this digital component on top of it. And then responsible decision making. So how do I reply to somebody in a responsible manner? So inside of my Flip, if I want to reply to somebody's video, how do I reply to them? What decision do I have to make to reply to that individual? In OneDrive, how do I reply to individuals with OneNote? I'm sorry. How do I reply to individuals in the various tools that are in there? And the same thing with Wakelet. They have some collaboration tools that provide you the ability to reply or to add to the learning base. So those are the components that you kind of have to walk through as you start adding your digital tools and resources into your culture. And this will also enhance people's feeling of belonging in that culture, because that's what it's all about. All right, so now let's take a look at this cool tool called Wakelet. So inside of Wakelet, it's really a tool where you can put everything in one place. And I've done a presentation on Wakelet in this series before, but if you are unaware or have not had a chance to look at that presentation, I'm going to give you a quick overview. So Wakelet is basically a curation tool, and curation means putting everything all together, all the best parts of something, or maybe even, a combination of best parts, worst parts, whatever that is for you as the learner, for you to have some clarity about that. So with that said, Wakelet is a cool tool. And for this presentation, here's kind of a way to use Wakelet. And as you can see, the red circle bars where it says enter a code. And so this is the collaboration piece. So you use Wakelet as a collaboration tool where you can go in and get the perspective of multiple people as well. So you give a code, and then other people can add to this collection. You can have one topic on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and then you can ask the entire world, or you can ask 20 people, you can ask 30 people, however many people in your learning community. Add something in there that you learned about Martin Luther King Jr. from a web a site or a digital site, some new information to you, or maybe some old information. And whatever you add in there will be unique because it might be new to me or it might be old to me. So it's just a way for people to kind of collaborate and work together. And this is just another way to do that. So here is an example of how to use it. So one of the things that connects us all for whatever reason, I don't know why, once people hear the sound of the beat of a drum, or the strum of a guitar, or the playing of a piano, or just it could just be a simple chord being struck. Music from every continent, every corner of the world, for whatever reason, music connects human beings. And so here's an example of how we did that. So first thing we do is we give everybody a code. So here's a code, for instance, the JJHJD180 or O is the code. And you kind of put that into your Wakelet. And the cool thing about it is now everybody with the code inside of Wakelet has an opportunity in my classroom to add to the jukebox, basically. So we can create our own classroom jukebox. And so now we're honoring each other's music and honoring each other's culture. And that's the youth culture that we keep talking about. How do we build this youth culture? And so you go to the Wakelet setting, and then you create a collection and you share the code with the students. And what the students do is they go to YouTube, and you just tell them, go to YouTube and find your favorite song on YouTube and add the link in there. And the kids all go in there. So let's say you got 25 kids in a class, 20 kids, whatever that number is. Now you have a collection of 25 songs or whatever it is. And the cool thing about it is once the kids all added in, you just push play on the button, and you can have that music as background music. So when you set up your station rotations, or the kids are doing independent study and you need some background music, you can go ahead and start doing that and playing that. And now kids will hear their song that they added in, and they're like, wow, that's my song. I feel honored, or I feel like somebody is actually going to listen to my song that I put in, which is really cool. So everybody has a chance for their song to be played. And because it's digital, now with that, the kids can take their class playlist. They can listen to it on the bus. They can listen to it in the car while mama's grocery shopping, or while they're doing their schoolwork at home, because it becomes an automatic cue that the music is a cue for me to start doing some academic work. So that's really, really cool. And the kids really love that part, because now they have a classroom playlist. And one of the things we tell the teachers is, okay, just, if you're going to go to YouTube, make sure that the music is clean. And then one teacher jumped up and said, wait a minute, define clean. What does that mean? Who defines what clean is? So are we telling kids that what they listen to doesn't matter, and then the voices that's in the music, or the terminology being used in the music? So in your classroom, you have to have that discussion, or in your building, or in your district, whatever the district policies are. So make sure that you follow the district policies, or whatever that discussion is that needs to happen. Include the adults in the building, and the kids in there. And if you want to, include the parents. And that's like one of the best parts, is creating a parent playlist. So, and then you can compare the kid playlist to the parent playlist. Are the parents listen to different music from what the kids listen to, and that kind of stuff. So it becomes really cool. And then you can even take it to the next level and create a grandparent playlist. So it has so many ways, because the music is what connects us. So that's really a cool way, or a cool tool to use. So now we start talking about self-regulation and ownership. So when we start talking about self-regulation and ownership, kids have a way to regulate themselves through music, and they have an opportunity to own the process without us having to push them or fight them to engage in their work. And it creates this youth culture that we want, that's a positive youth culture, where they are supporting each other, they are encouraging each other, and they have a better understanding of each other. So I might be a kid that's in the urban setting, And the stereotype is that I maybe listen to rap music and maybe I have an affinity to country music or country rap or whatever that is, or classical music. So now the music really breaks down any kind of stereotype. And it also creates a vulnerability or a safe space where kids can say, I'm going to add some music that's personal for me and feel okay about it because I have an opportunity to be my own champion. So here's also another one where kids can actually visualize their future outside of and including their current life. So this one is like really cool for me. The ability to visualize, uh, almost like a George Jetson kind of visualization, right? So we told kids, okay, you're going to go on a holiday travel experience. So you're going to get your Wakelet and you're going to go into the collaboration feature. We'll give you the code. And inside of the Wakelet, you're going to research some places that you would love to visit. So it could be places that's far, far, far outside or places right there in your backyard in your life. So we often think that kids want to go all the way to California and back or something like that. And sometimes kids don't even realize there's a park right there in their neighborhood, or there's a park right there in their city, or their city has an amazing zoo or whatever it is. But some kids are also like, hey, I want to go to the Eiffel Tower. I want to travel to the Great Wall of China. I want to go down to Cape Town, South Africa. So you let the kids explore and research those places that they want to go, and then they can add them into the Wakelet collection. And then once they add them into the Wakelet collection, it's not just good enough to go find this awesome, amazing place that you want to go and you put a link in there or resources in there. And then you also have the kids get into Flip and have conversation about what it is that they found, what was so rich about this place, this experience, this place that they want to travel. When do they want to travel there, and how can they see themselves traveling there, and what that process would be like for them. So now you're allowing them to visualize themselves in the moment and in the future at the same time, and have conversation about that and set some goals towards that. So we often think about goal setting being, I have to get a 3, 4, 5 on my ACT, or I have to have an A, B, or C in this class. That's my goal. Or my goal is to do well on the state test by getting X amount of the raw score and so forth. I have to do this on NWA and set my goal and accomplish that. But, goal setting is also other things. So, setting a goal for a place you want to travel is a great start. And we want to make goal setting a fun experience. So goal setting is just not an academic push all the time. So now it makes sense for the kids as to why they need goal setting beyond just the academic piece. But it's very important to have it for the academic component. And so this is probably one of the ones that during the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, this is the slide that everybody requests the most. Out of all the slides, this is the one that they requested the most, and they still do to this day. So one of the ideas that we had was we want to, the kids want to maybe explore the national parks. So here in the United States, there are various national parks. And when you think about Smokey Bear and Yogi Bear and Boo Boo and all these, characters that kind of depict what the national parks is all about. And everybody has their favorite national parks. But so we have asked the kids to go explore the various national parks. We gave them the link to the national parks. And what ended up happening was the entire country, from the Appalachian region all the way to California to upstate New York, all the way to Georgia and Florida, and all the way up to North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, all the way through, has various national parks. And the kids didn't realize it. They just thought Yellowstone Park, let's go do an exploration of that. And once they looked at it, they were able to see all the various national parks and find the national parks in their own state, in their own community. Some of them had national parks in their own community, and they didn't even know it. So the ability to research the national parks, and then using the national parks to use some of their satellite guided GPS systems to do virtual tours of the national parks. And this was like during COVID, when everything was on lockdown. You couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't do anything, but we still had to engage the kids with their imagination. And what we found was when kids came back to school, in-person learning, masks were off and all the stuff, and we're almost back to a sense of normalcy, kids still wanted to be curious and engage in their curiosity by doing this. So lots of teachers still request this page, this specific page, to really start thinking about how do we get our kids to explore the wonders of the world through the national parks as a lens, and then start building that curiosity that way. So this is also a very, very cool tool as we start integrating the learning standards into the level of curiosity that the kids are having, and the kids are starting to become engaged, and they're self-directed in this process. So now you have this level of self-discipline and self-management that has to happen with your learning. All right. And then so another really cool one that we often talk about is, with the holiday season coming up, and we did this thing where we tell the kids, okay, put in your favorite holiday movie. What's your top holiday movie that you love to watch? And then the kids go in, they put in their holiday movie, and they kind of do their thing, which was awesome. And it's kind of cute because, even the high school kids were like, oh man, this is kind of silly. But once they started doing, they're like, oh, I forgot about that movie. Or I forgot about that movie. I'm gonna have to binge watch this movie once we do it. So it's really, really cool for the kids to do that. And one of the things that during the holiday season I started thinking about was this whole kids or adults or whoever, everybody says the holidays are hard, they're difficult. Kids aren't with their families, or adults aren't with their families. You have people who come from multiple families trying to come together. And so it's just hard during the holiday season. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, well, let me look up some of the data that starts talking about self-harm during the holiday season. And as I started looking up some of the data, I pulled up a 2015 component of data, and it was really interesting to me. It was very interesting. And so when I look at it, it talks about the average daily suicides per month in 2015. And I thought that was very interesting. And once you look at the chart, the highest months on there is, so let's go, number one ranked month is May. Number two ranked month is July. Number three ranked month is March. Number four is August. Number five is June. So from a school perspective and kids, those are all of the months that the kids aren't with us. So when kids are with us and we go through these SEL components with them in school, that's great, or at least there seems to be something happening where the kids feel some level of support. When the kids are not with us, it seems like, just loosely looking at the data, it seems like the rates are higher during those months when kids aren't with us. And this is just not for kids. I think this is a combination of adults and kids and all human beings in this data set. So this comes from the National Center for Prevention of Disease and Health and Human Services. So once I started looking at this snapshot of data, I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, the adults in the lives of these kids really matter, specifically in schools. So teachers really matter. So we do a lot of these things in schools that support kids. And what tools are the kiddos taking with them during the months that we don't have them in our care or in our sites? And using these digital tools can help with that. So if we have a class playlist of music that's really cool and brings back good memories, and during those months or times that the kids aren't with us, they can go in and listen to some of this music and have a self-regulation tool ready for them. It was my thought, it was just my initial thought. And the months that they're not with us, they can go in and look at the holiday movies playlist and binge watch some movies, right? When things feel a little bit down or sad or whatever it is, binge watch some cool movies. And, holiday movies, you can watch them all year long, any time of the year. So stuff like that I really started thinking, I was like, okay, how do we use these tools to engage students when they are not in our care and they have the ability to self-regulate, to have self-awareness, to self-manage, and to make responsible decisions for themselves when they're not in our care or within our sites or with adults. So these are the tools that we have to start thinking about to help with this process. All right. And so as students start to reflect on their learning, we often use these things called exit tickets in school. And the kids write down stuff, and teacher has to sit there and grade it and put the little red lines on things or feedback and all the other stuff. Or even if it's a digital thing where they use quizzes or something like that, that's cool. But the ability to have a kid articulate what they learned and what they didn't learn is absolutely amazing. So using something like Flip for kids to really start talking about here's the lesson or the unit that we were engaged in the learning, and hearing the student voice and what they learned and didn't learn, or what they found that was very difficult, and the things that were kind of easy. And so you often want to see kids struggle through the learning, but you also want to see that kids have scaffold the learning and it becomes easier as they go because they learned it multiple times over a period of time. So just seeing that in the Flip video is probably one of the most amazing things ever, because you're allowing the kid to have their voice and to articulate their learning experiences with you and with their peers, because their peers can see their video as well. So one of the other components that we did during the pandemic, and it's still ongoing, and as you guys know, 2023 in January, everybody has their New Year's resolutions. We're going to lose that extra 15 pounds. We're going to do those extra steps and extra miles, and we're going to do that extra yoga and all the other stuff that goes with it, bike rides and everything else. So one of the things that we started doing was a 7-day movement collaboration. And then even in school districts now through health plans, teachers have different physical metrics that everybody's trying to meet. So that way teachers aren't as stagnant in the classroom or in their buildings, and be healthier and that kind of good stuff, because we need healthy teachers in the classroom, physically and mentally. So we need some stimulation, which is through exercise and physical movement. So we created the 7-day movement challenge with the kids. So any kid that had a device, whether it's a Apple Watch or any kind of a measurable device, or even their phone that measures their walking and steps, or even one of those manual devices that you stick on your belt clip that kind of counts your steps. So we kind of went through this process with the kiddos, and everybody was able to go into Wakelet and take a picture of their smartwatch or their movement summary and post it in there for 7 consecutive days. So every day that you went in, post your movement summary, and boom, there's a picture. Let's make it happen. Let's go. So it was very competitive, but the competition wasn't with other people. The competition was with themselves. They kept trying to get better and beat their own personal record. And by making it public like that with their peers, the kids weren't coming down on each other. They were actually supporting each other, saying, hey, man, I saw you hit that PR yesterday. Keep it going. Way to go. Keep going. And the adults were supporting the kids as well. And the kids were supporting their teachers, which was awesome. So we created this movement where there is accountability to yourself and accountability to your community. And one of the old adages that I always like to say is, everybody loves accountability, but few want to be accountable. So now it creates this level where I am accountable, but I'm not accountable to you. I'm accountable to myself. I am the driver of my own ship. I am the captain of my own ship, and I steer this thing. And so that really brings a whole different twist to the level of engagement with the kids. So throughout this thing, we did this thing called flatten the belly, flatten the curve, flatten the belly. And I just picked it up on Twitter. So there were this team out in California, out in Vegas, out in Colorado and New York, and Florida and Texas. So a whole bunch of people on social media because we couldn't connect with each other. And you could go finally get outside of your house and go exercise, but you couldn't interact with other people. And so we just kind of did this. And, I still had my COVID beard and all that kind of good stuff. And then I would just post every day what I did and how far I went and that kind of good stuff. And they would post their stuff, but nobody commented on you didn't do enough today because it was all at your own pace. It was all self-management. And those are the skills that we want kids to start to develop with SEL. So once again, you just go in, put everything in one place, you get a code, put the code up, and boom, here's a self-check for you. So you put the code up for the kids when they walk into class, and it's just a basic 5-minute thing, self-check. Hey, how are you feeling today? Put an emoji in to show us how you're feeling. What mood are you in today? So it provides me with an opportunity as the instructor to get a sense of reading the room, but it also provides you as the other students in the classroom to also read the room. The kid sitting next to you or across from you is in a great mood or a not so great mood or a bad mood. So now it allows you to read the room a little bit better by using this technology. So this is absolutely cool. So I have a teacher that she does this like on a daily basis. And the kids just come in, they put their emoji in about how they're feeling in that moment in time. And then I asked the teacher, I said, hey, have you tried using it like at the end of the class? Because their mood could change during that 55-minute period. And she said, oh my goodness, they're middle school kids. Their mood changes every 3 minutes. That's correct. So she really tried to integrate it more. And the kids love it because now they can definitely read the room a little bit better with their colleagues, especially when they're doing group work. And so with that said, at the end of the day, this whole thing comes back to having that grit mindset. So here I am. We talk about growth mindset, but the grit mindset is the ability to have long-term plans and stick to them and work at them consistently over time. And this is like an example of a school that I've worked with. And on the right, you'll see this very famous basketball player named LeBron James. And so LeBron James has a school that he endorses and works with in Akron, Ohio. And they have been in papers and articles and all kinds of really cool things about the great things that they're doing there. And their progress report on the state report card was an A. They did really good things. But, you know, when you get Justin Timberlake and you get all these famous stars that can come to your school as a kid in that school, that's amazing. And so you are always wanting to do your best so you can show your best, especially when all these amazing celebrities and stars and famous people come to your school. But what happens in a normal school, just a regular school, or maybe even a high poverty school, such as the one next to LeBron James? So this is an exact same type of school as far as socioeconomic background and kids coming from poverty and so forth. And their academic progress ends up being just about the same as LeBron James school. Now, they don't get all the accolades that a LeBron James school will get because of the stature of LeBron James's athletic career and philanthropic ventures in life. So this is just a regular principal, like many regular principals out there, doing amazing things for kiddos in their building by using these strategies and tools to connect SEL with the academic focus. So that way the kids can thrive. And so let me see if I can open it up to see what that looks like. Let's see if that opens up. So we're going to try to open up another screen here. So let's see if this happens to work. And there it is. All right. So here's a quick little YouTube clip of what it's like inside of that school. That's not LeBron James' school, but just a regular school where kids are kind of engaged in their learning experience.
What's going on is we're better than LeBron James at students with lowest 20% savvy and achievement. We're tied with completely grade of progress.
Okay, East Linden is a favorite school, and the property of this
Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio. We got an A+ for doing our test.
A+ doing a test. And B for overall, but LeBron has an A for ELA.
Yeah,
we're doing good. Gifted students, we have an NR. Also, LeBron James, the king himself, has an NR. Let's bow to the king.
Let's bow to the king. LeBron James is our favorite king.
All right. So with that said, let me close this out. So with that said, now that you can see that the kids are totally engaged in who they are, what they want to do, what they want to accomplish in life, because we go through these 5 steps with them constantly. We integrate it directly into the classroom learning experience. It's very visible in the school. We talk about it. The principal talks about it. The teachers talk about it. The kids talk about it. So the goals that they set, the attainable goals that they set, it's all there and it's very visible inside of the school. So when you build that culture, it's not a microwave culture. It's not something that you pop in for 30 seconds, put it aside, forget about it and leave it. It's actually something that you continue to work on, because what we want to happen is we want every kiddo, every adult out there to be their own champion, because if they can't become their own champion, they can't champion for other people. They can't champion for the overarching goal. So you have to be your own champion. Fight through whatever it is that you have to fight through to be that champion and to make your goals very attainable, and to accomplish those goals and execute on everything that you have set forth as far as those goals are concerned, because this is your own pathway. This is a prescribed pathway by you. We have overarching goals that we have to reach, but your personal pathway will help us all get there. So thank you so much. As we started to talk a little bit more about the SEL components, and we'll have this series is recorded for anybody out there that didn't have an opportunity today to join us live, but the recording is always out there, and looking forward to seeing you next time. Take care, everybody.